Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, can hear you loud and clear. Was a straight up day. How was
Yes,
your day?
it was. Good day overall. Good day overall. Uh, Identified the trend, got in flow with the trend, bought the NASDAQ, got stopped out on a little bit of a trail, but that's all right. Decent day. Yeah, the market's just caught a bid. How was your day, Coach?
I spent most of the day at the dentist, so I really didn't do much today.
Oh,
Traded a little bit last night, lost a little, but still recovering from the dentist. So,
there you go.
but I missed quite the action.
Hey, I don't know that it's over. I don't know that it's over. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get into the charts. But how is everyone in the chat out there doing? Welcome to all of our buzzer beaters. Welcome to At the Buzzer, a market recap. Goal of this segment was to review the markets of the review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 3 years. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experience and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Absolutely. You are all our chat, our audience. Let's get a little vibe check in the chat. How is everyone's week starting off? Good to see M's in the chat. Coach Hoop with that Top Step risk disclosure. Sodbuster Mo says, I was fighting the NASDAQ all day. I finished the day a little green by some miracle. Zach, fat finger 45 contracts last night that sent me into a spiraling tilt and lost my XFA. Other than that, I'm good. Well, Zach, I hate to hear that. How did you accidentally do 45 contracts? I'm assuming those were micros, but yeah, good thing you're doing good, right? Sometimes, again, tilt is a real thing. If it caused you to lose your XFA, that is why. And it sounds, you never want to hear it in the moment, but having that system locked daily loss limit that Coach Paul suggests, it's also for things like that, right? Where like, hey, I might be in 45 contracts and I thought I was supposed to be in 5, but no matter what, the system is going to stop me out at 12%, and I'm going to be pissed when I hit that 12% loss, but I'm still going to have an account, right? So that daily loss limit that you can lock into the system, it's for situations where you thought you were trading micros and you traded the minis and things like that. But
An old tale, as long as trading has been around, fat fingers or errors, and done it myself, where instead of just your mindset changes from trading at what you see to fuck, I got to get that money back.
yeah,
And
been there for sure.
and like you said, it sounds trite.
Yeah,
And you don't really want to hear it. I understand
nope,
that when you're like, yeah. But there's lessons from days like that.
for
And
sure.
that one is set it up. Don't lose your XFA.
Sure. Roach says, Red Day couldn't read the market well today. We'll talk about it. Markets may be going into an environment where they get directional on a higher time frame. And look at the second half of 2024, second half of 2025, you almost cut off the sell side in the equities. Where it was, you could make some money on the short side, but it was almost find a spot to buy it and let it go. And that's not financial advice, but we may be heading into that environment. So we will see. Bugs, great green winning day tomorrow. One more tomorrow into payday. Nice job. And Zach, definitely got to be honest with yourself. You were going to say, Coach?
As we're making new highs.
Yep. Yeah. Continuing to grind higher. Let's take a look at the news. Over the weekend, we did hear from the U.S. and Iran that the trade ceasefire negotiations were not going so well. The U.S. came back from Iran without an agreement on the ceasefire. The escalation went to the president saying that we were going to blockade the Strait of Hormuz starting at 10 a.m. Eastern time today, which did go into effect. So you have now a battle over the Strait of Hormuz and blockading from both sides. So very interesting stuff going on there. As far as numbers goes, we did have existing home sales came in at 3.98 million. Forecast was 4.05 million. We do have some inflation data out tomorrow. Guys, out tomorrow. If you didn't do so, go back and rewatch the opening call this morning with Jessica Inskip. She kind of broke down what we should be looking for as far as that PPI number goes. That is going to more heavily reflect the price increases that we've seen in crude oil. I didn't get to see where crude closed the day, but it was trading most of the day above $100. Anything you got on the news, Coach Paul?
Just the headlines that we see coming out. The basic economic news, really nothing. Well, tomorrow PPI might have a significance, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
Whatever the latest headline on Iran is
That's the
the
headline.
news.
Absolutely.
We saw that last night and this morning.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. All right, let's take a look then at the quote board. We got 36 different markets we can trade with Top Step accounts today. On this quote board to the downside, we had natural gas down 0.72%, lean hogs down 0.72% also, and silver down 1.12% on the day. Our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had crude oil up 1.68%. Very misleading 1.68% there if you only traded this morning. Copper up 1.99%, and RBOB gasoline futures, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 2.27%. Let's talk about our big four. We already mentioned crude up 1.68%, the S&P up 0.97%, gold down 0.45%, and the NASDAQ up 1.06% on the day. I have a NASDAQ chart up here on the daily. Coach Paul, what are we seeing here?
Explosion to the upside. What can I
Yeah.
say? It's that too. But once again, we're talking. The structure is very bullish. Oh, and the news might have a short-term effect, but this market is being bought.
Yeah.
And if you had told me that we would have that kind of news over the weekend and that we would finish at the highs, oh, I would completely doubt it. And you can't keep a bull market down.
Yeah.
Now, technically, this isn't a bull market, but being over the 200 after that break, and we had that structure, we have a head and shoulders, we have an engulfing candle at the low. That's what I mean by a bull market.
Yeah.
It isn't it doesn't get denied. So onward and upward, and I'm going to quote you from from last week. We could have all-time highs in a hurry. How
Yes,
far
we really
away
can.
percentage-wise are we from that?
Percentage wise in the NASDAQ futures, we are less than 5%, 4.9% off the high.
So we're in
Yeah,
that.
about 5% off the high.
So very constructive, and at today's action just adds to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Dina in the chat, tuning in from Roatan, Honduras, celebrating my 50th birthday. Dina, happy birthday.
Happy
Looks like you
birthday.
gave yourself a nice birthday present getting long micro NASDAQ as the markets were opening up. So happy birthday to you. Great trading. And thanks for joining us on your birthday, spending some time with us. All right, let's take a look at the 30-minute chart. Here is last night's open. Big gap down. Big gap down after everything. Anybody remember tariff time? Where it was almost every gap down on a Sunday. Bought back up. Go back and look at your charts from. Once we started just the rally in 2025, we had, I don't know, there might have been 7 to 10 Sunday opens that were very similar to this one. We'd gap down, and by the end of the day, we were trading a percentage higher. Very similar here. I know a lot of people were probably looking at oh, the shorts, this is over. There was no deal made over the weekend. But from what heard from a lot of people, um, ourselves included, shout out to Linda Rashke who posted it on Twitter yesterday. Said when you focus on the technicals 100%, realize that 95% of the news doesn't matter. And what that doesn't mean that the news doesn't matter, but that means as a trader, I have to focus on the technicals. We heard Francis Newton say it last week. The technicals are going to guide her trading decisions. We had Jessica Inskip on this morning who said the technicals and the tape are still pointing bullish for now. So you got to trade what's in front of you. The opening 30 minutes set the low. We never looked below that low. And this was a trend update. Now I saw news expedites the move. That's it, Brendan. News expedites the move. Coach Paul, what did we do here on the 30-minute chart? We held the 200 moving average.
We held the 200 moving average on the opening on a pivot basis. That was the third level of support. The 200 moving average on the 30-minute. We had panic selling, and actually decent selling for a night session. And when we remember this, it wasn't so much that it was bought down there, is the selling stopped.
Yeah.
And it stopped on a dime at the 200 moving average. Why? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you. But
I care.
over time, it's become an important level. Do I need to know why my car starts when I turn the key?
Nope.
So
need to know how to put it in drive.
I just need to know that level's there. Also, the third level of support on pivot.
Okay.
And what big point here is all of that you can using volume. We did not see any follow through selling. The low was made like right away.
Yeah.
But important as we went through that half an hour.
Yeah, that first 3-minute candle set the low.
Okay, there you go. So panic selling, no follow through, and watch VWAP. And if we watch the price of VWAP, by the way, it never closed below VWAP after that.
No, it did not.
So VWAP starts creeping up slowly. Then we break out of that half an hour. And by the way, we've never touched VWAP, session VWAP the rest of the day.
No, we did not. Go ahead, Coach.
I was not expecting that.
Right.
But if we're looking at flow, it's hard for me to see a place where I want where the buyers lost control, and they didn't.
Yeah. Shout out to Coach Dakota last night during slow markets. He was buying in the 900s somewhere here in the NASDAQ. Ezra says this is panic buying, everyone trying to get in the bandwagon. So that's one of the things I asked Francis about last week. Is there going to be a situation where some of the negativity and uncertainty that we've seen in the markets just goes away and the market just catches a bid because one, people are short and have to get out, and then two, there's money that's waiting on the sidelines that have to, want to, and need to allocate, and at some point you just have to start buying, right? So very interesting here. Of course, anything can and will change. There is a headline that could come out that could push us right back down, but this is now 6 days in a row to the upside in the NASDAQ on decent volume. This is a pretty bullish market here. If someone wanted to learn your strategy, how could they? Good question. I asked you to come back today to watch us for At the Buzzer. So take notes on what we're doing here. We'll talk a little bit about, actually, I'll show my trade from today. But also there is a video that I'll post, and it's a 2-hour video that I break down kind of how I look at volume in the markets. So give me 1 second to find that, and I'll get it for you. You don't have to watch it all in one sitting, but there's that video there for you, 00556. Uh, all right, let's take a really quick look. I took some longs in the NASDAQ today. That was my trade. That's where my profits came from. You guys know we look at the opening range trade. There was a question from Brandon. Was the first 3-minute candle on the New York session a J trade? So I just want to give some clarity to what the J trade is. And Brandon, yes, this technically was one. So the J trade is a reversal pattern, right? The urgency trade, which we take on the opening call, is price and volume leaving the range in a direction, right? So we had some urgency trades later on in the day. But yeah, technically this was a J trade, Brandon. That was the high of the day. At that point, we closed below it and you were able to take a short. Now, did it work out for the rest of the day? It didn't, right? We were selling into that full session VWAP. And this is just one of the times where, depending on what you were looking for a profit target, this probably is a trade that you know, maybe you don't profit on. If the risk goes on the other side of this range, 46 points, do you get a 2-to-1? You don't, right? And this is just one of the times where it doesn't work out. Worked out for a little bit for 34 points, but you're fighting this entire flow from the overnight session. Sometimes do we see that overnight inventory reconcile? We do. Today is a case that we didn't. So if you took this trade and you got stopped out, that's why we manage our risk, right? Because there's no guarantees. I was actually looking for longs here, and why we had the 3-minute opening range. We had price leave this range to the downside, but this VWAP was not very convincing at all in the NASDAQ. It took, 5 3-minute candles for VWAP to even leave the range. And by this time, we were already taking a look at that New York session, that full session VWAP, like you mentioned, Coach Paul. We didn't even get a test of it. And this is where I was getting long. So I got long. I got long twice. I got long once around 190s and got stopped out on this push lower. And then I just took the same trade again, right? This is where we say it, if you get stopped out on a trade idea, if you manage your risk, you can take the same trade idea again, right? Sometimes I saw somebody say, I had a long, but I couldn't hold on to it because I was over leveraged. If we're over leveraged, that over leverage kind of makes the decisions for us. Where, hey, I got, it's like the zombie apocalypse, and you find one rusty bullet, and you're like, I got one shot. I have no choice. I have to hit this shot, or I'm done. We don't want to put ourselves in that position, right? So, uh, you know, if you trade a size that is going to allow you a couple of opportunities, then you can put the same trade on again, right? I got stopped out, and I said, I don't think this trade is wrong. I just think the market disagreed with me in the time frame that I took it, so I'm going to take it again. And then I got back in long when we see this volume push here, and then that was one you could have held for the rest of the day. So why was I getting long here? The overnight session was long. The market looks extremely bullish. We already saw it on a higher time frame. We're above the 200 moving average, well above it. Everything is pointing bullish. I just had a conversation with Jessica Inskip on air. She seemed extremely bullish as well, confirming what we were looking for. And when we get this push into full session VWAP and the New York session VWAP, which is this purple line, doesn't leave that range, that's telling me at a minimum range trade opportunities. I didn't know we were going to rally 400 points. If I did, I would have stayed in the damn trade. But I got to measure what I measured for, and what that was a test of settlement price. Settlement price in the NASDAQ here. Let me just refresh this chart really quick. Settlement price in the NASDAQ today was 25,281. So why was that my target? That closes the gap here, and then the market is going to do whatever it wants to at that point, right? But the trade I'm looking for, the trade I measured for, was getting in long, closing this gap, and then letting the market go from there. Could I have held on to it? I could have. I don't think that way. I try not to think that way. I locked my account out after that. So I think I took one more gold trade and locked the account out. And yes, did the market run 400 points without me? It did. But if I don't measure for this, then I can't assume that I should have stayed in this trade. Anything you want to talk about, Coach Paul, here on the shorter time frame?
Yeah. If we go to just regular trading hours,
Mhm.
and we look at that 3-minute from there. Now, what did we get? We got some selling, and we said you can, if you're over leveraged, it happened fast. You
Yeah.
might be done.
Yep.
If you have no opinion and you have the right size of risk, even if you sold it, all right, what information did you get on that buying?
It was wrong.
I mean, it was huge buying.
More than the open, which doesn't normally happen.
And quickly too. So you can reverse. You've saved enough ammunition. You lost the early battle, but you didn't lose the war.
Right.
If you throw all your resources up at the first shot, your chances of winning the battle or the war are small. That candle with that volume gave a big information is that the institutional size traders came in. And I call that a sweep.
Yeah.
They don't give a damn about the price.
Nope.
I got to buy triple X $1 million worth of equities. Well, what's the offer? They don't ask those questions. That's why it's called a sweep.
Yeah.
For us traders, that's the tell.
Absolutely.
Now,
Go ahead, Coach.
If you didn't want to sell it, excuse me, if you didn't want to buy it and you wanted to sell it, at least you had some information. Well, not here. I'm not. I'll wait for that to fail. So just right off the bat, without the overnight and the gap, look at that 3 minute. It filled the gap.
Yeah, that one candle.
Frame that up. You don't see that too often, and it happens. That's when Coach Jay and I talk about volume and price. Right there that's the nugget.
For sure. One of the things that you could look at in this, I got out of this trade right as we closed this gap, but we say this all the time, Coach Paul. The opening is when the volume comes in for the day, and of course at 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Central, 97% of the days out throughout the year, that's going to be the highest volume candle of the day most times. But when really, 15 minutes into the session, we're seeing another high volume candle, that's your opening range. For whatever reason, the volume traded later today than it normally does for the open, and more, at 15 minutes after the open. Why couldn't they have done that same volume here? I don't know, and I don't care. But they traded more volume, and now this is my opening range trade from this point. Do we break above this high? You can see the market respects this volume. It held the 50% to the tick pretty much, and just a really beautiful move here. So I don't know who it was that said that the markets were hard to read today. I'm just curious what you were looking for. And again, sometimes the markets are hard to read. I know for myself, markets like this are extremely easy to read for me. We talked about making reads and executing. This is a market environment that allows me to execute really well. Range bound markets are easier for me to read, maybe a little bit more difficult to execute in. So I'm wondering what you were looking for. And everyone is going to trade different. Everyone's going to use different information. What I will say is that I think if I was looking at the news over the weekend, I may have had a short bias.
Okay, and I want to go into that. This is why it's hard to read. Is we're still, like you just said, we're anchored to that news.
Yeah.
At any time, this was supposed to be, missiles flying. God knows what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, that's wearing on your subconscious because we're human. We're still have that.
Yeah.
That was an old saying is like great shooters in basketball, great traders have no conscience.
Yeah.
They don't get attached. And I know I can feel that. I was myself like, okay, but there's a war going on. And sometimes it's really good to shut yourself from the news headlines.
Yeah.
Because the market's going to react
Mm-hmm.
in cumulative to that news.
Yeah.
And this was a case of that. So one of the lessons to learn is, yeah, it's hard to read because I'm still anchored by, damn it, it was down 1%. You don't see a day like this too often. I think a whole word for that was key reversal, where it opens on the lows and it has a vicious and sudden turn and then finishes at the high. This meets all those requirements. And that can be hard to read because part of it is like, okay, it just rallied that much. It can't just keep going.
Yeah.
And while it kept going, there were sharp turnarounds where we get to, there could be who was selling this today and had a good day. Because
Great question.
that to me, that's a great trader. I'm not that
Oh
good.
yeah.
But that's why subconsciously you have to remember we still have that anchored into our mind. So,
Yep.
uh, but what is the market itself is neutral. The market doesn't win or lose. It
No.
gives you a portal for entry for
Yep.
all traders. So a good lesson to learn from that is to really read the flow. If we put a line chart, I love these line charts for just this reason. Now that wasn't a straight line, and it was there was some crookedness in
Some
it.
turbulence. Yeah.
But turbulence is going to happen in markets like this. But it never, even that, we never got under session VWAP.
Yeah. There's a question on the management of this trade from DigiCap. Since it's an urgency trade, would you close at break even? Would you close at break even if it doesn't hit 2 to 1 and comes back to entry? So for me, and everyone's different. For me, what I do with these trades is, and this one, I mean, I got long as this 3 minute candle was starting, so there wasn't a whole lot of room for me to overmanage this one. But once we got to a 1 to 1 on this trade, I just went to stop and profit. And we say the 2 to 1 risk to reward. I'll be honest, my trading is not that perfect. And what I look for, and I could have held this trade for a full 2 to 1. I could have held this trade for more than that. I could have held it for a 5 to 1 at the end of the day, right? What I like to do is identify an area where I think the market has the potential to trade to, and then for that time frame. So again, I'm looking at this right here. I'm getting in long from 183s, and my target is 120s. All I'm looking for at this point, DigiCap, is how much of this move can I take if the market is agreeing with it. So if this market moves 120 points and I take 80 out of it, I did my job, right? Because I'm in my mind, I'm not going to catch the high and the low of the move. I could count on, maybe one hand the amount of times I've done that in one trade. So I'm looking at, okay, this is my entry. This is the target. I want to sell this trade into strength if I'm buying it, right? What I don't want to see is for me personally, I don't want to see this much of a pullback, right? This is 64 points of a pullback on the way up, right? I look at this as I could get in another trade, but that's just, different execution style for the trades. But for me, I'm going to try, if I'm risking 60 points on a NASDAQ trade and we get to 1.5 to 1 on the reward side, but I'm looking for 2 to 1, there's no way that trade is going to, there's no way I'm not leaving with some money on the table. So that might mean if I'm trading multiples, I'll take one off or I'll set a trailing stop for one. But I'm gonna take something off the table. Usually, as we get to about a 1 to 1.5 to 1, I'm taking something off the table. All right. Any other? Should we take a quick look at the Russell? Because man, this market, man,
Yeah. Russell
1.5%.
Yeah. From the get-go last night.
Talk about all-time highs.
All-time highs.
3%.
And Russell is now a leader.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Dow is doing much the same thing.
Is it?
Yeah. But the Russell, even more dramatic.
Very similar
Uh,
structure here. All of them are starting to move together, Paul.
that's very bullish.
Yeah.
When we talked the last week, the risk on, risk off trade, the Russell against the NASDAQ, as you just said, we saw that like whether the NASDAQ is starting to started to outperform the Russell. Today, they all just went up on bearish news.
Yep.
Or perceivedly bearish news. Great. I mean, it was just great structure.
For
But they
sure.
all S&P looked the same. The Dow looked the same. It
Yeah.
was. This is what I call allocation. And
Absolutely.
remember, if we look in the dailies of all of that, they were all very constructive.
I'm pretty sure we just went back to green on the year. Yeah. Equities are back to green on the year. We were red for a little bit. Back to green. Comment in the chat here. My 2020 hindsight sees it clearly now. Sigh. That happens, right? So that's why we do this in review. So a lot of what we say in review is what I'm asking myself while I'm trading. And I think what keeps me locked into a process is repeating the questions. And if you watch that video that I posted in the chat earlier, I'll put it back in the chat. There's a couple questions that throughout that video we ask: who's in control? What is their target, and how good of a job are they doing at getting there? If you continue to ask yourself those questions, then you really take yourself out of the equation. Too many times, I think traders are the center point of their trading process, and what you want couldn't matter less to the markets, right? But if you ask yourself, who is in control of the markets? How good of a job are they doing at getting what they want? Then to me, it helps me stay, impartial to what's happening, and then just getting in the trades that way, right? And that's why Coach Paul and I, you hear us say, we just read the flow of the market. And if I came in with what I wanted and what I thought should happen today, I would have been short, 100%, no doubt about it. Because that's my analysis of the news. Hey, that doesn't sound good, or there's no trade deal. So, I'm going from there. But then if you go with, okay, that's my thought process, but trader me has to follow the market, who's in control, what is their goal, and how good of a job are they doing at getting to that goal, are three questions I think you could ask to try to see it in real time, right? Because then you're putting the puzzle pieces together in real time. Okay, what is the market trying to tell us right now? Any suggestions, Coach Paul, that you have for staying present in the markets while we take a look at gold here?
The basis of that staying present in the market is to remove yourself from the real human trend of trying to predict.
Mm.
And this takes time. This is where you develop as a trader. What do I mean? Well, this has to happen because this happened. And you hear it all the time is, but anything can happen. So the market gives us pieces of information, especially we're day traders. The first piece of information on a day like today was last night. Panic selling. Next information is we are using a half hour is, okay, we made the low. We haven't made a new low. It's accepting. It's building a base. Still, prediction of initial, this is it. The war is breaking out. All hell's breaking loose. Crude oil is going to be $250. You see what I mean? Where you're getting into prediction, where being in the present, and this is why it takes skill and it takes time, because you have to, at the beginning of our journey, we have to learn how not to predict, and that's extremely hard.
Yeah.
So at one point you could be short last night, but what changes? See, because markets continuously change.
Mm-hmm.
What changed last night? To me, You could be short, but when we close above VWAP and VWAP is ticking up,
Yeah.
you can stop selling it. You might not want to buy it because you don't trust what's going on in the world.
Right.
But
Flat
you
is a
get
position.
new flat is a position and you're getting new information. So that's what we mean by staying in the present. To me, using VWAP off the session VWAP gives me a really good read of staying in the present.
Mhm.
Like, okay, let's say I'm a perma bear. I gotta sell this sucker. Using the session VWAP where I see this fail, it never failed. Now, I saved myself a lot of heartache and loss.
Mm.
But reading that, now when you get good, you're like, son of a gun. They bought this. Who's
Yeah.
they? The market did. There is no one person at the top of the hierarchy going, it's going to be a buy. This is what I mean by we get fragmented information right there. It's bought.
Yep.
Frame out your risk. We're all different. In other words, we could have many different trading plans, but you're getting information right there. That structure, the selling stopped, and now it's being bought. That's how you can remain in the present.
Thank you for that, Coach Paul. Do us a favor if you are tuning in, all 589 of you could do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate you all being here. We appreciate that response, Coach Paul, and all the questions. We can't do this show without the questions that you guys ask, so keep asking them. Let's take a look at gold. Very stable here in gold. What are you seeing on the daily?
Balance. Uh, Still holding that 20. Now the trick is a little bit of time. Where this through this time when this repair off the big break, holding the 200, that this is a daily. It takes time for that 20 to turn around. It's still negative,
Yeah.
but over time, as we stay above it, what's happening? There's no follow through selling, and that's where we are right now. This is a rotation, and we're not getting much movement, but it's starting to turn. We're still above the 200 on the daily. We're still above the 20, but we are trading. Oh, I like that.
You know what that
What did you
reminds me
do?
of? You know what that reminds me
What?
of? Crude. Remember that
Mhm.
low of the year handle we had in crude? Is this the low? This is the low of the year in gold. VWAP attached to that candle. I'm gonna pull up crude and we're gonna look at the same. But we are holding the VWAP from that low of the year, and it's starting to leave that range to the upside. So this is bullish structure to me. Uh, bullish structure to me here. Again, it's not super directional on a higher time frame, and it has a lot to fight through with all this aggressive selling that we saw earlier this year. But it's holding up pretty well and starting to turn for sure. Paradise Building says, "Love the info. I'm seeing more wins since I started tuning in." Well, we love to hear that. Can't say I take full credit for that, but I'm gonna take some. Uh,
You should take some.
right.
That's why we're here. We
Yeah.
hear that a lot. I'm going to give ourselves a shout out. I'm proud of the job we've done. And if it's helping you, hit that like button. And
Sure.
tell your friends.
Tell your friends and family to like and subscribe as well. But yeah, that VWAP off the low of the year on the daily there, Coach Paul. Here's the 30-minute in gold. We're gonna ask a question here to everyone in the chat. You already know what it is, but what is that white line? What is that white line? We talked about this during the opening call, where gold, by the time we got to trading it for the regular trading hours, to me, the move was already done for the day because of how gold has been trading around this 200 moving average on the 30-minute. We're above it one day, below it the next, above it 2 days, below it. And if no volume was going to cross this 200 moving average, I think that was a high probability that we were not going to cross that. We said that during the opening call this morning, and I saw Yair say I caught a nice short on gold, except I gave back my profits today, minus $1. I mean, if you saw more trades and your balance at the end of the day is $1, then hopefully it was all managed risk. It's always interesting, right? Like if I'm up on the day, but I'm trading multiple markets, how do I take profits? What's the cutoff? It's going to be different for everybody. You ended the day down $1. You could have done worse. Maybe you could have done better, but you could have done worse also. Anything you want to say about this 30-minute here? Gold.
Yeah,
Another one
we
where
had a
that candle set the low.
J trade off the first half hour.
Yep.
And gold is starting to move with the equities.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what but for some reason, but it is starting to act like we had that huge gap down with a huge range. What was the range? It was like, I think it was like $80, $90.
This candle alone, this candle was $89.
$89. Selling stopped once again. The selling stopped. Really, I mean, and then VWAP comes in, and what does it do? It starts curling upwards. And we held it almost the whole day. To you, this is it's starting to look like a buy the dip.
Yes, it is. I'm looking at the correlation matrix here, and yeah, you're right. Over the past 30 days, gold in the Dow 78% positive correlation. Gold in the S&P 81% positive correlation. Gold and the NASDAQ 77% positive correlation. Gold and crude oil negative 66% correlation. So I think another case of everything is watching oil. It seems like everything is inversely correlated to oil right now, other than the energies.
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah,
I have that flair for the obvious,
right.
right? But still, there's correlations. But this, I was surprised because I'm watching gold. If I looked at this and I looked at the S&P, it didn't have much of the same follow through, but we still had a gap lower. All hell is breaking loose. Buy it.
Yeah,
Now, why? I don't really need to know why, do I?
yeah,
Reading, being in the present. If you're short, you got some information last night. Either take a loss or cover. Just get out of the way.
yeah. I did. So my P&L high isn't what the realized P&L is here. I did take a loss in gold today. And if I look at why I took a loss, right, it's important to know why you lost today. I am a trader that succeeds trading flow in the markets. There was not as much flow in gold today. So I put on a trade that didn't really get much follow through. I was looking for longs, but we just talked about, right? What is the case? Again, I need to know why my trades don't work. What is the case for not taking longs up here in gold? Or maybe you could take them, right? But you have to take them like a range trade, right? What's the case for not looking for breakout longs in gold today? The volume stopped moving above that 200 moving average. Price looked above it a couple times, but there was not a lot of conviction from buying. So if I'm going to buy this, you say this all the time, Coach Paul, how close is my entry to volume? And in this case, my entries were not very close to volume. So, I'm getting stopped out on the pullback into VWAP. So in review, was the wrong call? No, I could have made money to the long side today. We saw Dakota do it during fast markets, but in range bound conditions, which if we take out the overnight session, gold was in a range, right? That first 30-minute range, we had price leave to the downside, volume didn't. And again, this is the equity open, and we know gold opens earlier than that, but same concept, right? For the morning session, this was a range bound market. You have to trade it like one. And if you don't, you may take some losses. Anything else you want to mention on gold, Coach Paul?
That's it.
That is it. Let's take a look at what everyone in the world is looking at right now, and that is going to be crude oil on the daily chart here, Coach Paul. What are we seeing on the daily in crude?
We talked about this Friday. It's a flat 20-day moving average. We did get above it. I mean, the world's coming to an end, but we came right back down to it. We still have, did we settle? We have settled below it, but this market is starting to what? Range
Yeah.
in a large range. But the direction is being challenged. And once we find balance out of imbalance, there's a higher probability of a change of direction. Simple as it sounds, that's really what markets do. I mean, Peter Stottlemyre used to call it vertical versus horizontal development. We're in the horizontal here. Another word for horizontal is balance. So we've tried to rally, and what? It gets sold. Who sells it? It's not a bunch of retail traders en masse saying this is going down.
Yeah.
It's the producers. I'm going to talk about it. It's the market users. This is not speculation on moves like this.
Yeah.
So it's making a case that this upside has been challenged. We can't see the June contract or the July contract. They look much different than this. So May is probably going to expire for trading in the next week or two, next week, and then we'll start seeing the June contract. It looks a little different. But all in all, this market is finding balance near the highs of the move. So let's go into the half hour.
Taking a look at the half an hour, and if you guessed it, you were right. The half hour set pretty much the high. Inverse the equities that we were just talking about, very strong inverse correlation between crude and the equities. Another one where we have a gap, and that's it, right? Crude oil was up 1.43% from settlement price from Friday. At the highs of the day, we were up, what was it, 7%, I believe it was? 7, maybe 8% on the day. But another one
Almost
where
9.
is there follow through on this move? If I was only paying attention to the news, I would think crude oil is supposed to be at $150. Why did we stop at 105? But the Strait of Hormuz is closing. Like Coach Paul said, it's the end of the world, right? The war is still going on. But we got to trade what's in front of us. And what's in front of us here on the 30-minute is we gapped up above the 200 moving average. But once that first 30-minute candle printed, volume never even tried to leave this range to the upside. Price did advertise up there a couple of times. I told you guys before, but I'm getting a lot more comfortable taking this as a range trade. Worst case scenario, I'm looking at, maybe 50% of this move, if not 100% retracement of the entire move, which would have taken a while. And I was not at my trading desk last night. But when you see these big moves, I think it's very traders are very prone to try to trade this action right away, Coach Paul.
Yeah.
Because it's like the anticipation building over the weekend that, oh man, I didn't get to trade for 2 days, and now we have this major headline that's going to come out and it's going to move markets around, and I got to be in there. I got to catch a piece of the move. Does that happen to anybody else? Just out of curiosity. I know for a while, and this is why sometimes I just make plans for Sunday night so I don't do it. I know for a while I was placing trades at 6:01 Eastern time on Sunday night because it's like, oh man, I got to catch the move. And are there moves that you could catch? Absolutely. But similar to what we say for a NFP candle, a CPI candle, you let the dust settle, there's opportunity from there. And that's how I've begun to kind of look at the year. I don't know that I need to catch the initial one because there's going to be more than enough opportunity throughout the rest of the trading day.
One other thing I want to bring on is look at the white line.
Mm-hmm.
What is it trending?
Downwards.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It's it's as I said, this market is in balance. We've changed on a longer structure on the daily. You saw that from vertical to horizontal movement at the extremes. When I say horizontal, it's just in this volatile environment, it's going sideways with the end of the world news. So in this rally last night, we opened above, and this is above the white line, the 200 moving average, but it, it didn't make a new high, and that is a red flag in the fact that the 200 moving average is trending down. So we do not get follow through. We get flat session VWAP. And once we closed below that session VWAP, it really struggled. We see the volume picking up to the sell side.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is crude oil. The news is out,
Yeah.
and May is rolling now. Thank you, Coach Hoop. So you can start seeing as volume starting to drift a little. I imagine by the end of the week, or maybe in a couple days, June will be the front month. It's already June.
In contracts, we haven't even gotten into May yet. We're good. We haven't even gotten into May.
But
Contracts.
yeah, but this is kind of very to me. It's starting to become pretty negative.
Yep, absolutely. Until there's another headline that changes that, but that is what we got for now. We went through our big four markets. We did something last week. Trade reports. I'm curious if the chat wants to do that again. I'm thinking sometime this week, maybe on maybe Wednesday, we can do some account reviews. But in order for us to do that, we need to get to 150 likes before we hit the end of this stream. You guys can hit that thumbs up button. We'll do trader reviews. What I'll ask, basically, we'll do 50 more. But ask you guys to share the links to your status reports, your performance stats, and we'll go through those. Shout out to the trader that I forgot who it was, but they shared their stats with us last week. We were able to go over those. Coach Paul, any other markets you want to talk about today?
I'm checking in every day with
Micro
Bitcoin.
Micro Bitcoin.
Someone put it earlier, put a shout out watching that. I forget who it was, but yeah. Put up the moving averages, if you would, please, sir.
You don't want a line chart on this one? It's a flat line. It's a straight line. It's a straight line, pretty much, if you zoom out.
Yeah.
But you want the moving averages up here? I got you.
All right. So we have a cross of the 20 and the 50.
Mm-hmm.
We're above the 50. Today we put on a candle. We tested the 20 and the 50 at the lows, and we bounced back. This market is being accumulated. It hasn't broken out yet, but it sure is coming close. We have a nice base. We're at near the top of that as the overall markets like equities start gaining. I can see Bitcoin started, because we've talked about this a lot. Bitcoin is starting to become attached to equities.
Yes.
For good or bad, I'm not. It's not my call. But we're starting to get confidence that this isn't going down. The shorts, look at the volume.
Yeah,
So,
starting to look like the equity chart. That consistent volume on up days at the average, and volume is always going to be lower on up days. It just is what it is, unless you're talking about commodities sometimes. But yeah, it looks like a sustained move here. Still got to close above that high.
Yes, we have. I'll leave it to you. This trade is named after you, Coach Jay, and it's now in the public record.
Right.
So
Yeah, Gemini knows about this one. But I mean, what we're looking for is, do we get a candle close above this February 5th high? That would give us a J trade on one of what might be the longest we've ever had to wait for a J trade to confirm. We did get a candle close above it. And actually, if you took this long and risk goes on the other side, you still would never stopped out. You probably pulling your hair out. You probably bald at this point, trying
hey,
to.
hey, 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 hey.
There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, but this trade has not taken out that candle's low since we closed above it, right? So still holding that structure. It's just it's a trade that requires patience right now. What's very interesting is that if you go with this as a 2-to-1 risk to reward, that puts you right back at that 200-day moving average on the futures here. Huh.
Mm.
Huh. Uh, that's about it for micro Bitcoin. Let's see what happens. Today was a pretty nice day. Today was a pretty nice day, similar to the equities. Like you said, moves with the equity charts. This looks like S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell combined. That first 30-minute candle set the low under that 200-day moving average, 230-minute moving average. And right back above it, very similar trade here, closing on its highs. That is what we got for micro Bitcoin. Ended the day down 0.18% from settlement. But again, that's kind of misleading. Does it look like a head and shoulders? On what time frame are you looking at, Ezra? What time frame are you seeing a head and shoulders? Talking about this here, actually. Why don't we do this? You seeing a head and shoulders here, Coach Paul? On the daily?
No, I see rotation.
Yeah. Maybe this is like a big flat top head, and this would be the neckline up all the way up here, maybe. That'd be a big ass head, but yeah, we'll see. I don't see that necessarily either. I see the rotation that Coach Paul is seeing here, but if we start to break here, then I think this is where we look for where that breakdown
Yeah.
started. I think that's it, Coach Paul. Maui man's getting out of here.
One more.
Oh, go ahead.
One more euro currency daily. I don't need to say anything else.
Right.
Watch out.
There we go. The euro right at that 200-day moving average, up 1%. That means the dollar was down about 1% today. I think that's it, Coach Paul. We think we got through all of our questions, got through all of the markets. Hopefully, anything we're doing here is helping you with your trading journey. Coach Paul, you got anything to say before we head out of here?
Yeah. Once again, plan your trade your plan, stay alive, and we will talk again tomorrow.
Some stuff. We got coaches doing classes in Discord after this. Coach Hoop at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Coach Ray at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Coach Vince at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And also Coach Paul at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll be starting a series called Great Traders, Great Lessons.
Okay.
I'm going to review great traders in history and the lessons we can learn from them.
Interesting stuff there. So make sure you join Coach Paul for that. We got coaches doing classes in Discord all the time. We actually have a new coach as well with Topstep. Shout out to Emmanuel doing classes in Discord. Again, anybody who's working with the Topstep company, Topstep brand, is doing this with the helping you all become better traders. So hopefully that is exactly what we're doing here. We're pretty much 24/7 content at this point, but we're all not AI yet, so we got to sleep at some point. But find your favorite coach doing a class in Discord throughout the day. There's a calendar that you could check out there. Slow markets tonight with myself and Dakota. Then we have Aaron with the London Open, 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time. D with metal markets at 6:30 Eastern, and then we'll be back for the opening call tomorrow, 8:15 Eastern Time. PPI tomorrow. Remember that inflation data has the potential to move these markets around. So as we come into 8:30 Eastern Time, if you're in a position, know where your risk is and understand that you don't have to guess where the market's going to go. Let the dust settle. Take your trades from there. Manage your risk, and we will see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.